a cacophony of sounds coming out from the military barracks, but these sounds are not of war, it is merrymaking here for soldiers. It is the West African Annual Social Activities Week known as WASA, which offers an opportunity for troops on the front line to display their diverse cultural heritage here at Memalari Cantonment in Maiduguri, the Borno State capital. It is also aimed at evaluating the Army's operational performances and plan for better service delivery.
The event offers us an opportunity of a cultural review of our activities in the theater with emphasis on year 2023. There is no doubt that significant progress has been made in the quest to restore law and order across the length and breadth of the Northeast, particularly in Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe states.
And the Army reaffirms its commitments to fighting Boko Haram and other remnants in the Northeast. It says that significant progress has been made in tackling insurgency, resulting in a sharp decline in both criminal and Boko Haram activities.
The success and relative peace we celebrate today is therefore a testimony to the commitment, dedication, and professionalism of all troops. I want to assure you that with your continuous support, we will finally decimate the remnants of Boko Haram terrorists in Borno and other states in the Northeast. I therefore urge all troops to support their commanders, remain focused, dogged, and prepared to decisively confront any security threat across the theater.
A representative of the state governor reiterated the government's commitment to strengthening its relationship with the army to achieve more desired results.
I'm committed to supporting our military in every way possible. This includes providing the necessary resources for equipment, maintenance, and also the well-being of our servicemen and women. It is essential, therefore, that we invest in the future of our armed forces and ensuring you remain at the cutting edge of technology and strategy.
Such socio-cultural events are expected to strengthen civil-military relations and win the trust of the general public. Sani Adamu, Arise News.
Well, that's quite commendable of the Army authorities, and that cues us into our first conversation with Group Captain Sadeeq Shehu, who is a private security and defense consultant with CSD Consult Limited and adjunct professor at George C. Marshall European Center for Security Studies in Germany. It's good to have you on the morning show. Thank you so much for being here.
Good morning, and thank you very much.
Good morning.
Good morning. Now, as a former spokesperson of the Nigerian Air Force and an intelligence officer, how do you assess the recent ramping up of military operations against terrorists on the northern flanks, particularly in the light of the recent elimination of the notorious terrorist leader, Boderi Isiaku?
Thank you very much. Now, in assessing our unfortunate security situation, which started as far back as 2009, I think always when you talk about recent, we have to look at a snapshot of the current events. Of course, it is a history of up and downs. Sometimes our security forces have the upper hand, recording success after success, but as in all military operations, sometimes we have reversal. But if your question said about the recent, when I say recent, maybe we'll start looking at the last quarter of last year up to this quarter of this next year, this year that we are in. When we look at that, we can say that despite everything, we will say that the record for our security forces has been impressive. Impressive in terms of verifiable numbers and reports that are received not only from the military agencies themselves, but also from private, independent reporters who report what is happening. For example, when we talk about recent successes, in this week alone that is ending tomorrow, the 25th of February, we have a report of about 286 terrorists or bandits that have been killed. We have about 244 of them that have been arrested. We have about 122 hostages that have been rescued. This is across the country. we have about 587 assorted weapons of different ammunitions of different calibers that have been seized. If you take it regionally, in the northeast, with Operation Hadarin Daji, we have, major successes in taking out renowned terrorist fighters. Like, for example, within this period, the Nigerian Air Force was able to take out the notorious Ba Ashwa, who is the leader of ISWAP for the current time. They are also able to take some well-known terrorists like Ibrahim Lakib, like Mujahid Dimtin, like Mustafa Muazir. In the northwest, where we also have the banditry operation, still also we can show some successes. Notorious bandits like Yellow Jamburos, like Janari, were taken within the first quarter of this year. Of course, the icing of the cake is we talk about is the Boderi, who was taken just a few days back. Now, Isia Boderi has been very notorious, ravaging the areas of Kaduna and Niger State. This guy is particularly notorious because, in fact, among the bandits, he has this air of invisibility among him. Because even the aborted negotiations that some governors started in the Northwest, Boderi never participated in any of these engagements. He seems to be so assured that he's untouchable. And we have to remember, Boderi is the kingpin behind the abduction of the FGGC Birni Yawuri girls, about 20 of them. He was the kingpin behind the attack on NDA, where an officer was killed and another was abducted. He was the kingpin behind the attack on the Greenfield University in Kaduna. All these attacks were spearheaded by Boderi. So taking Boderi out, again, though it's a single individual, it is a great success for the armed forces in terms of assuring the people living in those areas and in terms of also raising the morale of not only the soldiers but also the Nigerian citizens. So like I said, if we are looking exactly from the last quarter of last year to this quarter of this year, despite everything, we have to say that the record of successes by our armed forces across the country, whether it is Northeast, whether it is Northwest against bandit, whether it is in the Niger Delta, where the Navy and Operation Delta Sanity are battling with economic saboteurs, even in the South area, we all have these success stories. However, I would like to say, in measuring successes of the security agencies or the military in particular, there is something I want people to put at the back of the mind. Success sometimes is measured in terms of number of bandits or terrorists killed, in terms of arrests made, in terms of hostages that are released. But that is the visible part of success. There is also the invisible part of success. The invisible part, which cannot be measured, is when an attack by either a terrorist group or a bandit group did not happen because of the presence of those security agencies. It is very difficult to measure those successes. For example, I can give an example. Like 2 weeks back, if I remember, there was an intelligence report that this same Boderi was going to block the Kaduna-Abuja highway. And because of that, anybody who was flying that route saw the massive deployment of police and military personnel on that. We can assume from that because of the presence of those security forces, Boderi did not attack. So these are the kind of invisible successes that sometimes are not taken into account when we look at successes. Thank you.
All right. Group captain, I mean, good way to start off the conversation. But precisely to what do you attribute the successes that you have enumerated? What precisely is the Nigerian army getting right at this time that they couldn't get right, let's say, exactly 1 year ago? And also, looking at the pictures that we see of Boderi, of a few other people that were either arrested or have been, terminated. Sometimes people wonder, are these the fellows that have been terrorizing us? These young boys looking like, ordinary thugs, and we're saying that these are the people who have held us, hostage. So again, the question is, are these successes real, or is the army just getting its PR right?
Well, thank you very much. I have to, even though whenever I appear on these shows, I like to be, attributed as a private security consultant. What I do, without being immodest, whenever there are security issues and there are reports of successes or reversals, I follow diligently. How do I do that? Of course, I have to ask what the Army spokesman, Defense spokesman, the Air Force spokesman, or the Navy spokesman, or the police spokesman says. But as an investigator, I also have to cross-check all this information with independent sources. Because with due respect, there is tendency to say it is PR, like you said. But then you have to corroborate with other sources. There are always independent sources of information that you can. And if a story does not check one or two ways, I do not use it personally for myself. So having said that, you asked also what could it be that the armed forces are doing. Well, I think not only the armed forces or the security forces, but all the other agencies, whether it is police or DSS, they have to take credit from that. These are the actual operatives. But apart from the operatives, I also probably have to see a change of style in the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu government. What do I mean? When you give security forces, an assignment, you, as the political master, you have a duty to follow through, to ensure that things are being done. You have to make sure, with due respect to my colleagues in the military, you have to make them uncomfortable for every service chief, for every security head to know that your job is not assured until I have results. I think whether verbally, whether body language, that is the body language that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is bringing. And I think with that, with due respect, whether you are a sweeper, whether you are a corporal, whether you are a sergeant, whether you are a commander, whether you are a service chief, you love your job. That's why you're in the job. So if you know that it's only performance that will guarantee your job, certainly improvement in, you'll see improvement in performance. To me, I think that is the issue. We also have to look at the oversight by the National Assembly. Maybe also we have seen them calling the service chiefs, but though I have to warn, it doesn't have to be too frequent that you call them, but there has to be, and also the general public, with due respect to the good work that the security forces are doing, Nigerians, ordinary Nigerians and political masters must continue to demand more and more and more from them. It's not that they're doing good, but we'll never relax to also ask them always for greater and higher performance. Now, what legislation are coming? The president and commander-in-chief is requesting for performance. The ordinary Nigerians are asking for performance. The National Assembly are doing their thing. Certainly, you will see improvement in performance.
Thank you, sir. So I'm very, very privileged to be a Nigerian, and I very much respect our armed forces who keep us safe. And you're saying that the president is doing differently, either through body language or certain actions that are putting them on notice and giving us this result. But also, do you believe there's more that can be done to boost the morale of the rank and file of the army, especially in these harsh economic times across the country? Because we have had instances of members of the Nigerian Armed Forces speaking about how much they are suffering due to our economic conditions. So do you believe that there is more in terms of keeping us safe to be boosting the morale of the rank and file of the Nigerian Armed Forces?
Thank you very much. I will say, as a retired military personnel myself, that all over the world, nobody joins the military because of the pay. That is the reality. Because only few people will allow to present them. So we have the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, when he appeared before the National Assembly, telling us the kind of pitiful amount that is being paid to soldiers on operations. You need to go to some of the barracks to see how our soldiers live. So, to be honest with you, very few people will agree to present themselves a target to be shot for 50,000 naira a month. But that is the work of the soldier. And why do I bring that? Like I said at the beginning, soldiering work is not about pay. It's about patriotism. It is about protecting your neighbors and your family and your country. Having said that, it is incumbent on the government. It is incumbent on the general public. When you put somebody in the line of fire to protect you, you should do as much as possible. And even doing as much as possible, there is no recompense you can give to somebody who, is putting his life on the other. But more should be done. We've had, I'm sure many Nigerians were shocked when General Musa was giving out this thing. But I must say, with commendation to the Chief of Defense Staff, as a former military man, I can tell you frankly that the average Nigerian military officer or the military personnel can never tell you the kind of deprivation that he's suffering from. That is our nature. We try to take whatever the suffering is, you can hardly hear. So, but I think it is part of making Nigerians to understand that we need to have such kind of discussions like the ones that were held with General Musa and the National Assembly. People need to know what their security forces, not only the military, the police, the DSS, under what conditions are they going. Then you try as much as possible to meet their welfare needs, their housing needs, their allowances needs. When you do that, now you have a right to demand maximum performance. Even though, again, I underline, whatever you give them cannot be a compensation really for their putting on the lines or the order. So I can see the president has made a pronouncement. The CDS has done his part by telling the political masters the deprivations. The other service chief, chief of naval staff, chief of air staff, chief of army staff, they have also in their own way, either publicly or in camera, they have told the political masters how their officers and men are faring. It is up to the political masters to do that. But having done that, when the military eventually, that's both serving and retired. Because also the way you treat retired personnel is what will encourage quality Nigerians to join the military. And if you don't have quality Nigerians joining the military, you are not going to have quality performance. So all these things are linked. Both the serving and the retired have to be taken care of. Now, if we arrive at that time where the welfare and the and other needs of the military are taken, then certainly again, as the saying goes, to whom much has been given, much is expected. You have the right to ask for greater performance. So all these things are linked, one thing leads to another. And I am happy with what the president has said in principle, that he has said this not once, not twice. He will look after the welfare. The services have done what probably their predecessors do not do. What is that? Telling the political master, frankly, this is where we are hurting. This is what you need to do for us if you want us to achieve this. That is how it should be. When there's a discussion between the security agencies and the political masters, it is not a time for, it's a time for frankness. You need to be frank. Because if you don't, it's like going to a doctor and not telling him the actual symptoms you are feeling on your body. He may prescribe for you the wrong medicine.
Okay, thank you, Group Captain. We're rounding up now, but building on the momentum of the recent successes in neutralizing terrorist leaders like Boderi Isiaku we've spoken about this morning, how should the military capitalize on these victories to dismantle terrorist networks and disrupt their operational capabilities? And also, given your expertise in intelligence matters, I want to know what you make of the level of synergy among security agencies in the ongoing efforts to combat terrorism in Nigeria. This collaboration, how is it going to enhance operational effectiveness going forward?
To maintain the momentum, that is what I would tell the security agents. And here, when I say security agents, I mean the armed forces, the police, the civil defense. They have to maintain the momentum. Because this kind of terrorists or bandits who are going, they are very resilient. If you flag down, they will regain momentum. So you have to regain the momentum. And we, observers, whether from the political masters, whether from the media, whether from commentators like us, we have to continue keeping the security agencies on their toes. Because that is the only good work we can do for them. We keep them on their toes, they keep performing. Like people will say, there's nothing that cannot be improved. Even this success that I read out can still be improved. There are things that can be done better. With regards to synergy, again, I have to commend the service chiefs under the leadership of the Chief of Defense Staff, General Gwabin. I am seeing a new push in synergy, both physically, but demonstrably, you can see increase in synergy. For example, I'm just reading yesterday, there was a joint search and rescue operation organized by the Navy. The Army was there, the Air Force was there, the Civil Defense was there, NEMA was there, so you see cooperation. I also the Chief of Defense Staff visiting the NDLA to explore the link between banditry or crime with this thing. If we go to Adamawa State again, another thing that captured, if we remember, just about a month or 2 months back, there was a fight between the local military commander there and the police in Adamawa. But what did I see when I was checking the papers? I saw the new commander, the new brigade commander in Yola, receiving the police commissioner in Adamawa State. So this kind of collaboration is beneficial to all of them. And again, I think what is also coming again is the body language of the government. If the government shows all the security agencies that, look, you have to work, they have no choice. You have to work together. If you do not work together, the failure of the DSS might affect the failure of the police. The failure of the police might affect the failure of the army. The failure of the army might affect the failure of the Air Force. So it is all linked. So when they realize this, and they realize the political masters, the people who appointed them, want that coordination will go. And when you have this coordination, it is a win-win situation for everybody. So I have to say kudos to the current security leaders. As I see these visits I have highlighted, I'm seeing joint operations. I am seeing the Navy arresting oil bunkers and handing to EFCC, all these things that I follow. And to me, what shows me is that there's increased collaboration, there's increased coordination, there's an increased awareness that is either we swim together or we sink together.
All right, we want to thank you, Group Captain Sadeeq Shehu, retired, for this enlightening conversation on the morning show today. Thank you indeed.